A Florida law bans homeless people from sleeping outside. A Florida man was arrested for sleeping on a Walmart roof with a gun. A Florida woman threw steak knives at a man after he left her at a bar. A Florida woman grabs a state trooper's genitals and bites his leg. These are the weird stories for Friday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast that does Florida Friday. Every Friday, weird news from Florida. It's Florida Friday, baby, all night long. Florida Friday for you, feeling so strong. A new Florida law bans homeless people from sleeping outside. Well, where are they supposed to sleep if they don't have a home? Man, wow, you can't even just be in the world. It's illegal. It's illegal to just be. It's in other news, it's illegal to exist in Florida. What if I have a home? Can I sleep on the sidewalk at that point? Sir, if you provide proof that you have a home, yes, you could sleep in the parks if you'd like. That's fine with us. And the timing on this is terrible, considering there was just a hurricane that probably made a lot of people homeless down there in Florida who ordinarily wouldn't have been homeless. Yeah. But, officer, I have a home. It's just at the bottom of the ocean. May I please sleep on these steps? Okay, let's get the details, and let's see if any of it makes any sense. This is a new law that took effect Tuesday of this week. It impacts thousands of people struggling with homelessness all across the state of Florida. Not an easy place to be homeless. The state of Florida, it's 120% humidity. There's wildlife that kills you and destroys you everywhere. There's flesh-eating bacteria. If you try and wash yourself in a local fountain outside of a library, let's say, there's a good chance you're going to catch the flesh-eating bacteria. And a gator's going to jump out and bite your face. Iguanas are sharp. They have claws. They're falling from the sky constantly. The tweakers are out there in full force usually. How do you sleep in a community of tweakers? You're going to wake up and your shoes are going to be gone. You're probably missing a kidney. These are the perils of sleeping in Florida, being homelessness in Florida. Let's see if this new law also provides any solutions for homelessness. Now, being that it's the state of Florida and we're dealing with the Florida central government, I'm going to say the solutions are probably not so great, but let's not prejudge. House Bill 1365 prohibits camping on the streets, no camping on streets, nor on sidewalks, also not in parks. All right, it doesn't say anything about the beach. Maybe you can still camp out on the beach these days. Now, cities and counties are required to provide temporary shelter, very nice, where individuals experiencing homelessness will receive drug and mental health treatment. Wow, this is a lot better than I thought. I just assumed the Florida housing program for them would have been prison. You're probably wondering, how will law enforcement enforce this new law in Florida? Well, Miami police say they're waiting for guidance from their legal squad. Miami police said they will encourage people to go to shelters and to use the city resources. Meanwhile, Fort Lauderdale police say they have established a homeless outreach team and a neighborhood support office to connect individuals with resources. Broward Sheriff Gregory Toney has been outspoken on this issue. He said, quote, "Homelessness is not a crime." I agree. But when you start putting bans on people sleeping outside, you kind of make homelessness a crime at that point, don't you? I mean, why don't you let them sleep outside, man? Who gives a damn? As long as they're not on private property, I don't know. This is a nightmare situation. Who knows how to solve the problem? But if your situation is so dire that you're choosing to sleep outdoors in dangerous Florida, I mean, that's like going real hard in the homeless paint, I would say. And if you're choosing to do that, you're probably pretty committed to being homeless at that point. Maybe just let them sleep outside, but bring them a bunch of popsicles, man. You know, just a popsicle a day, water. You could even pay them for every python that they catch, you know, because you got to get those pythons out of there. That's an invasive species. A Florida man was arrested for sleeping on a Walmart roof with a gun in his hand. Sleeping on a Walmart with a gun. I mean, you can't get any more red, white, and blue than this dude right here. I don't see what he did wrong. Isn't this America? Why can't you sleep on a Walmart with a gun in your hand? Yes, we have here a Cape Coral, Florida man arrested after deputies say they found him snoozing on the roof of a Fort Myers Walmart with a gun in his hand. In his defense, if you're taking a nap on a Walmart property, you probably should bring a gun. You know what goes on. You know the antics that occur in Florida Walmarts. I've covered many of them on this show. It's not a safe place to be. You're going to need to eventually defend yourself from some wandering tweakers and whatnot. What was that story about that guy drinking wine out of an empty Pringles can and speeding around the Walmart in an electronic wheelchair, running kids over? I think that happened, didn't it? And, the data's come in. It's very clear that the percentage of people whipping out their genitalia vastly increases when they step onto the property of a Walmart as well. So, it's just not such a friendly place. You gotta pack. Now, let's find out what's going to happen to this Florida man. Also, I'd like to know how he got up there. Daniel Ray Rios, age 30, is facing one charge of trespassing. Lee County deputies responded to the Walmart on 6 Mile Cypress for reports of a man on the roof with a handgun. When the police arrived, an employee told them he was checking the air conditioning unit after Hurricane Helene, and he noticed a man was sleeping on the roof. Deputies say they made their way to the roof and found Rios taking a nap with a revolver in his hand. The police say when they asked Florida man Rios why he was on the roof, he said he was riding out the storm. Which, that's a great place to ride out a hurricane, is up high on a roof, on a Walmart roof. I think that's it's better than being up in a tree. You're probably wondering what was with the gun, though, Rios. What's with the gun? Well, he was probably thinking if the hurricane gets close, he could shoot at it, You got to tell Florida people you can't shoot a hurricane. They've done so in the past. A Florida woman threw steak knives at a man after he left her at a bar. This Florida woman was taken to jail after she apparently attacked a man with steak knives. Well, did he look like a steak? Did he have brisket face? His friends called him Old Brisket Face. So, let's, where am I going with this? Really up top, I'm already losing it. Sorry, guys. Let's try and get on track. We have Florida woman Daylene. I never heard of that name before. Daylene. Daylene, 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 Daylene. You threw steak knives at my face because I left you, Daylene. All right, we're making up for it with some song. Daylene Keller, 34, was arrested on charges of aggravated battery and domestic battery. On Friday, deputies were called to a home in Palm Coast regarding a woman identified as Daylene, 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 Daylene. Now, the victim is a Florida man that is not being named. He explained to law enforcement that this incident began after he left Daylene at a bar because he wanted to leave. Gee, I wonder why he wanted to leave her at a bar. What could it be about this woman, Daylene, that would make someone not want to continue to spend time in her presence? Can anyone think of something? He says he left her at the bar. She didn't want to. The two of them met up with each other later that night. Oh, okay, so this guy had a change of heart. I'm assuming she invited him to a steak dinner? Was she like, hey, do you want to meet in an Outback? What could possibly go wrong? The two met up later that night, and that's when deputies claim that Daylene grabbed 3 steak knives and began attacking the unnamed Florida man victim. Are you sure it's an attack, or is this an attempt at cannibalism? I don't. In her defense, Your Honor, the victim looked exactly like a steak. His friends call him Old Brisket Face. I rest my case. Old Brisket Face. We rest our case. In her defense, Your Honor, my client has a very clear picture of her throwing an axe on her dating profile. So if you're going to date her, it's clear what she's about. There's going to be sharp blades involved. I rest my case, brisket face. Okay, back to the article. There's details, more details. Do you want more details? Who wants more details of a Florida romance? Deputies say that Daleen threw a knife at the victim as he hid behind a chair. And when he tried to disarm her, Daleen allegedly stabbed him in the forearm with a bottle opener. Ooh, she's just armed to the teeth with shiny metallic things that hurt. Daleen was not going to be outdone. Daleen was not going to be disarmed. She threw 2 more steak knives at the victim when he tried to run away, striking him in the back and in his ear. My goodness, she actually hit him. Daleen, 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 Daleen. She's really bad at love, but she's really good with knives. A Florida woman grabbed a trooper's genitals and bit the trooper's leg. Well, at least she didn't grab the leg and bite the genitals. You know, little victories in Florida. You got to really look for them. Yeah, the glass half full, Florida style, in other words. Let's get some details about a story that happened in Tampa. A suspected drunken Florida woman crashed into a barrier wall on Interstate 4 in Tampa. She grabbed a Florida Highway Patrol trooper's genitalia and bit his leg, according to officials. I believe that's called a Florida foreplay. It's quite common. Typically in other states, you have to pay for that sort of service. So, you know, this woman's giving it out for free, it seems, trying to find love on the side of a Florida highway. Let's find out what happened to the trooper after being bit. Was the trooper turned from the bite? You know, turned into a Florida man werewolf tweaker, or what? I don't know what you turn into when you're bit by a Florida woman, but something, I'd imagine. I've seen many a zombie movie. Okay, back to the story about the Florida woman biting genitals and grabbing legs. I'm sorry, biting legs and grabbing genitals. They're biting the legs. They're biting the arms. They're grabbing the genitals of the people that work here. Okay, we have a story that took place at the lovely hour of 5 a.m. That's called Golden Hour. 25-year-old Florida woman Tyshira Williams was traveling westbound on Interstate 4 when she lost control and crashed into a barrier wall. The police say Williams was impaired. I believe that means drunk. While she was being arrested, the woman resisted and had to be physically restrained, they say. As officials tried to restrain her, the Florida woman grabbed the trooper's genitalia and then bit his leg. And I looked, but there's no video of this attempted romance of a state trooper by a Florida woman. I thought we might have the chest cam of the police officer, like looking down, and the woman's the woman's biting his leg and rubbing his crotch at the same time. And I couldn't find anything like that. Now it says this Florida vampire has been charged with DUI, resisting arrest, violence, and our favorites, possession of drugs and say it with me, paraphernalia, drug paraphernalia. They're biting the legs. They're biting the arms. They're grabbing the genitals of the people that work here. Biting the legs. They're biting the legs. They're biting the arms. They're biting the arms. They're grabbing the genitals of the people that work here. They're grabbing the junk of the people that work here. Hi, my friends and loyal listeners. Thanks for spending some time with your buddy Jonesy on this episode of Florida Friday on the Weird AF News podcast. I so appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the musical aspects of this episode. I was feeling rather frisky. I now want to take a moment to give some thanks and praise to individuals and supporters, and I would call them loved ones that have bought me coffee over the past 24 hours. I had an influx of coffees purchased for me, and so these amazing supportive listeners like Alyssa Owens need to be given their credit. Alyssa bought me coffee and wrote, "I love hearing all of these weird and wacky stories from all over the world, Jonesy. Keep it up. You do an amazing job and are so hilarious." Isn't that sweet? It's just really short and sweet to the point. So shout out to Alyssa for making me smile with that as well. Hannah bought me a coffee, and I'm not sure if this is the famous Hannah from Chicago, but she wrote, "Hi, Jonesy, referencing this episode from September 30th. I think the guy put it in snow because he wanted to preserve it. I love how you don't just tell the news stories verbatim. You use funny voices and pronunciations, and you make fun of the people in the stories, which makes them entertaining. Weird AF News is my favorite podcast, and I'm so glad that we can buy merch now. Good luck with your life, man." That's got to be Hannah from Chicago. I should have said that. I should have read that in a Chicago accent. I can't really do it, though. It's kind of like, "Good luck with your life, man." No. My favorite podcast. No. I can't do a Chicago accent. Some words I can, but yes. So as Hannah has alluded to, I have a merch website that you can buy the merch. There's a link to it in the description of this podcast. Also, you can go to Merchmake, merchmake.com/weirdafnews. Merchmake Weird AF News is where where it's at. Where it's at. And you can buy Weird AF News underwear. Where it's at. No, you can't buy underwear, but you can buy a coffee mug, and that's pretty dope. Wouldn't you want a Weird AF News coffee mug? Super cool. Okay, Eric James Pittman bought me coffees as well, so let's give some credit to the very generous Eric James Pittman, supporter of the Weird AF News podcast. "Hey, Jonesy, this probably isn't what you want to hear, or maybe it is. I listen to your podcasts every night to fall asleep, and I hardly ever get the third story in. I don't know why it works so well, but it's way better than sleeping pills. If I wake up, I just put it on again, maybe halfway through, and then I fall asleep before the end again. Sometimes if I do get through one or two of your podcasts, I listen to your back catalog. I'm listening to some from before the pandemic right now. Thanks so much for doing a good job with this. I'm glad you enjoy it. My sleep has improved greatly since I started listening to your podcast, so I figure that's proof that your podcast is good for my health." Well, I'm so happy, Eric James Pittman. And I'm very flattered that you go to sleep to the podcast. Yeah, see what Weird AF News can do for your life, man? Yeah, it can make you laugh. It can make you angry. It can make you fall asleep. So all of these things. And yes, there is quite a back catalog of Weird AF News episodes. If you ever want to dive into it, guys, it could take you half your life to listen to all of them. I think I just passed 1,830 episodes or something fairly recently, so that's kind of insane. What kind of person would hang out in a closet this much? Some of us are dedicated. Some of us are dedicated. This is probably this is one of the only things I've been dedicated towards in my life. To the chagrin of various women. So sorry, guys. It's stand-up comedy and it's my podcast and my fantasy football league. Those are my commitments. Anyways, if you guys want to buy me coffee like these amazing, just loving, supportive listeners, such as, where was I? Eric James Pittman, Hannah, Alyssa Owens, these lovely people, please go to weirdafnews.com, the official website, and click on Buy Jonesy a Coffee. You can also click to buy the Patreon. You can buy the Patreon. You can join the Patreon as well from there. Anyways, my email is funnyjones@gmail.com, and you can follow me on the Instagram @funnyjones. Doing a show this weekend in Long Beach, so if you want to be put on the guest list, just send me a DM. Have a great weekend, and good luck with your life, man.